why don't we get to our cringe of the day? That is the new conservative. Should I put conservative in air quotes? Because he is proclaiming Transgender Day of Remembrance. Yeah, I know what you're saying, folks. I thought we're out of June. No. This stuff goes on all year. 2 days ago, or 3 days ago, rather, the Leafs just had their Pride game on ice. You know what would be really prideful for the Leafs? Winning a Stanley Cup. I know it's only been 68 years or something, like 58 years. But all I know is that Lester Pearson was prime minister the last time it happened. I know, kids, you've never heard of that name. Google it. In any event, let's see what Mayor Farkas had to say regarding whatever Transgender Day of Remembrance is.
Good morning, Calgary. It's Mayor Jeremy Farkas here, joined by some incredible leaders and members of the transgender community locally here in Calgary. And I am joined here by them to proclaim Transgender Day of Remembrance. So in advance of signing, I will read the proclamation on behalf of the City of Calgary and my colleagues. Proclamation. From its inception in 1999, Transgender Day of Remembrance has been observed to mourn those lives lost because of transphobia and to bring attention to the continued violence, harassment, and discrimination endured by the transgender community. Whereas more than 100,000 Canadians identify as transgender or non-binary, including over 12,000 Albertans and 5,000 Calgarians. Whereas Transgender Day of Remembrance is marked by vigils and ceremonies in cities across Canada and around the world. Whereas Calgarians are encouraged to challenge transphobia in all forms, whenever or wherever it is encountered, to educate people and to stand up for our fellow community members. On behalf of City Council and Calgarians, I hereby proclaim November 20th, 2025 in the City of Calgary as Transgender Day of Remembrance.
Wow, that's quite the sausage fest there, isn't it, Drea? But the first thing I want to say is I'm calling bullshit on those numbers. Those are highly inflated numbers in terms of the number of transgender and non-binary people. And, you know, we have a society now where in certain circles it's just simply cool to identify as transgender and non-binary, but you're not transgender, you're not non-binary, you're just saying that. That's where those numbers come from. There's no way the population is that infiltrated with transgender and non-binary people.
Well, last I checked, the national average was 0.33%, but in certain pockets, you'll have outliers, obviously, because of the environment, community, high school. For example, New Westminster, their last statistics that I think they published on it, they had 4% in New Westminster High School of trans non-binary kids. How is that possible? Why is it so much more than the other places? But the bottom line is nobody is forgetting that there are people identifying as trans people. I don't know why we need a Remembrance Day. But the other thing is that when they talk about this is a day to remember the trans people who have been murdered or killed, when you actually look into the cases that they're talking about, they're almost all not even Canadian cases. And then the ones in Canadian, there's no evidence that it was because of that reason. Like, for example, will be a prostitute who got killed. Is that because they were trans? You just don't know, because unfortunately, when you're living that lifestyle, it's a very dangerous lifestyle. So it's more trans people who have died in a horrible way, if that makes sense.
Well, I wonder what Jonathan Yaniv has to say about that, because he's usually the guy hurting other people, whether it's with his fist or his cane. And yes, folks, I do speak from bitter experience, and Drea has had some run-ins as well. So, but one last point on this, Drea. When it comes to municipalities You shovel the snow, you pick up the garbage, you fix the potholes, you make sure there's clean drinking water. I'm getting sick and tired of proclamations and foreign flag raisings, and you'd think that Farkas would be on board with that because, as I understand it, as of next year, no more foreign flag raisings. Can we just ask the mayors in our Dominion to stick to their lane, to do what they're supposed to do, which is the management of their city, instead of going off the reserve for all these feel-good, proclamations?
And can we just bring back, like, if you wanted to dress like a woman, you also wanted to kind of be like treated like a woman, and like you didn't make like a big deal about it. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I remember that. It was like the goal was to be treated like a woman, so you didn't like say, "Hey, everybody, I'm a trans person. You must watch my every move and learn about me." You know what I mean? Like, just I thought the goal was to be treated equal. But anyways.
Yeah, well, we sure know what a transgender is, but when it comes to a woman, well, we only have to look to a certain U.S. Supreme Court judge. Couldn't define what that is. That's a Supreme Court justice, not some lunatic off the streets. Anyway, Drea, we're past the 2:00 mark Eastern Standard Time. I want to thank you so much, and it was great to have our guests, Harrison Faulkner and Andy Lee. Folks, and by the way, thank you for tuning in. A special thank you to all those who made a donation. That is greatly appreciated. I will be back here, I believe, with the happy wanderer Sheila Gunn Reid on Monday. In the meantime, have a great weekend. And as always, stay safe and stay sane.
Big news, Rebel News now has premium memberships on X, Locals, and right here on YouTube for just $4.99 a month on YouTube. You'll get loyalty badges, custom emojis, and access to members-only chats during our live streams. At $8.99 a month, you'll also unlock Rebel News Plus shows and our documentaries. But here's the catch. YouTube could cancel that premium tier at any time. That's why the best way to support us is at rebelnewsplus.com. It's just $8 a month, cheaper if you go annual, and you'll get exclusive extras like an ad-free site, comments access, and even the chance to submit op-eds. Wherever you join us, thanks for keeping our independent journalism alive and strong.